ReZero, Season 3, Episode 14.
なんて知ったら、あなたはどのくらい驚いてくれましたか?
At first sight.
見ない顔だな。女が朝っぱらからこんなとこで何してやがんだよ。
What a pickup line. Hey you, why are you here? At first sight, you say. Something about the way he accosted me.
ま、いいからいいから。おいでおいで。
Shut up. Shut up and come here. Do you like flowers?
花は好き?
They're alright. Sometimes. And she still looks exactly the same. Hard to imagine. Well, also now we know that necromancer things can talk and have some semblance of their personality in there. What if she's still doing this for him in a sense? The legend of Theresia van Astrea herself. Looks like she's expending no energy. I guess it's just her facial expression. Willhelm, on the other hand. Oh, it's my dad fighting my dead mom? Uh-oh. Oh! Okay. I mean, she might have just spared him. You need to let him know it's not... Okay, she's necromancied. Heinkel, you're drunk. Go home. Oh my god. It was over before it began. I heard that the author said that if Subaru wasn't the main character, Heinkel would have been. And I don't know if he was joking or trolling or if he was actually sincere. But thinking about it, there is a pretty crazy emotional story you can tell. Being sandwiched between your parents, who are some of the greatest warriors of all time and have unbelievable legacies, and your son, who is the chosen one of the gods themselves, can basically achieve anything he wants with a wish. Yeah, maybe alcohol would look appealing. Maybe you would be slightly bitter. You've already been beaten. Reindhart? He's had a busy day today, just putting out fires all over the place. He can probably draw his sword, right? This is obviously a lot for Reindhart, too. Not only the relation, but the guilt, the family baggage, the history, his relationship with his grandfather. I mean, I think that is probably the correct attitude. What we've seen so far. Yeah, she's worthy. And the whole earth shakes at the sword's unsheathing. I think maybe he was telling himself a little bit of a lie. He was gearing himself up because he knows he has to fight Theresia, but I don't think he was really fully in it. I don't think he had the conviction. Seems like there's a part of him that's just stuck emotionally on, it's Theresia. This is not the reality of the situation, but this is maybe the emotional possibility of the situation. There's a little bit of the danger here of like, Reindhart takes her from Willhelm again. Willhelm's sort of looking for closure through this experience, which maybe it doesn't bring. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, he wasn't ready. He couldn't do it. He doesn't have it in him. What? Decoy? Were those family flashbacks reflected in a sword swing? Did she just regain a little bit of consciousness from that at the last moment? How does the sword saint choose? And now you have the power. Now you are the sword saint. I suddenly want to go pick up a sword. Oh, you know? Okay. I guess you get the information also. And you know? That's got to be incredibly frustrating for somebody who's dedicated their life to swordsmanship. This is tough. Oh my god, this is a big upgrade. Yeah. Well, I mean, evidently. I don't think you worked at all. Yeah, there's a big burden with this. It doesn't seem fair, right? And there's an analogy here for natural-born gifts and talent. and I ended it. I think looking at characters like Reindhart and Theresia, I think it can be a little bit envy-inducing. It must be nice to be so perfect and so sought after and so talented, so damn good-looking, to have it be so obvious immediately what your place is in the world. But then, of course, that's not the whole story. Nobody gets out unscathed, right? And there are challenges and advantages to just about every position, even if some are more obvious than others. For somebody this talented, there are a lot of possible pitfalls. One of them is, it's just like so clear what you're going to be doing. You know, if you're this gifted, maybe I'm misremembering, but I think it was mentioned that she didn't really like it, or am I making that up? Either way, it's possible she hated it. It's possible Reindhart hates it, but no one else can do what you can do. And clearly there are high stakes to it, and everyone you care about is looking at you to do it. What is even you about that? Another one is that I think the way gifts play out over time, or really great benefits that people covet that you sort of just got by default or inherited or whatever, you do enjoy the rewards of them, but it's not the same thing as like deep internal satisfaction and self-respect, because you didn't actually do anything. Nothing was proven, nothing was overcome, and so probably nothing was learned. There's no equivalent sacrifice that went into it that I think makes for the greatest personal rewards. It's like if you win a lot of money in the lottery and then someone is like, wow, you're so rich. Yeah, you might like that, especially if it's someone you're attracted to, let's say. You can derive pleasure from it, but at the same time, you're like, yeah, there's nothing really deeply fulfilling about it. Yeah, what can I tell you? I won the lottery. The end. For people who don't have that and covet that, that comes across as one of the world's smallest violin situations, right? Like, boo-hoo, poor you. You feel unfulfilled with all your money, or your good looks, or your extreme talent, or whatever. But in those situations, at least in those avenues of life, what that likely is they just haven't uncovered that the thing they're focusing on is a subsidiary step on a much longer path to personal fulfillment and satisfaction. And those things are desirable as a way of removing impediments or obstacles to get to the next target of desire. But having obtained that target of desire, there will be higher targets of desire, and onwards and upwards the chain towards sort of like actualization, self-fulfillment. I mean, the evidence of this is like everyone has something that somebody else somewhere covets and is their dream of dreams. And yet I don't know anyone who actually can derive satisfaction from that fact that other people want what I have, because that has nothing to do with one's own personal journey. And then related to that, another one is just loneliness, because you're on a pedestal. Everyone values the things you have, but they're not really valuing you. In a way, they're sort of valuing it through coveting it. Reindhart isn't really a human being to most people. You know, he's just like the guy who shows up and is awesome, which is partly why I think Subaru's comments meant so much to him a few episodes ago. And finally, back to the point about there being tiers to fulfillment. Being really good at something and doing a thing is not the same thing as having sort of like the deepest why. So like seeing the shots of war, is this really what is fulfilling to Theresia? You know, she's just doing her skill, but it seems disconnected. It seems more like she's a tool for other people. She's going to be every bit as questioning as any other human being, and maybe to an even more severe degree, because it's like so locked in and there's so many people, and I guess even the gods themselves pushing her into the sword job class. I've been thinking a lot about that tier list of fulfillment thing. Haunted actually is more like it, because I can't get the idea out of my mind that for all the things that are appealing, for all the things that call to you to chase, I just feel like the end of the road probably is just service to others, assuming that's done in an honest way that is sort of in line with current capabilities. And so it sort of casts a weird light with a huge shadow on a lot of other desires and fixations, despite how compelling those things still feel.
Theresia, 怖いのかい?
Maybe just sad.
お前は虫も殺せないような優しい子だったから。
She just likes flowers.
2年前、お前に負けて悔しかった。でも、俺はやっぱり剣が好きだったんだよ。
The thought also comes to mind that I actually think if that North Star is high enough, where it's about something like that service and like the goodness put into the world and it being for others, as opposed to wanting attention, wanting people to tell you and affirm how great and amazing you are, getting rich, having better romantic prospects, whatever, the less the ranking will matter, because there's just so many ways to do good. It ceases to be a competitive thing and just becomes a question of like, am I doing the best I can do? Like if that's the orientation, you can be perfectly happy supporting someone who's more skilled than you and has a higher ranking than you, if you feel like in doing so, you are making a real, tangible, meaningful contribution with your own spirit and actions and character, etc. There's nothing lesser about being in a supporting role if like you are really good at the supporting role. I think it only really starts to get in the way and becomes an issue when the goal is like some external benefit that isn't that thing, because there's a winner take all effect in that regard. You know, like number one gets the most praise and the most money probably. And that's a very deep instinctual thing. It's not easy to overcome, but just conceptually at the very least, wherever you are, like not judging any of those stages because they're all just stages of life, right? Let's say that's just where the brother was and he identified it. That also is great because you then realize there are a lot of other ways you can get what you need. You will certainly be able to get what you want out of life without being number one in this particular specific thing. In fact, being number one in that specific thing might be the worst thing for you depending on how that's achieved. And again, beyond that, there's something even better, which is just like, you know, your real deep fulfillment about who you are and what you're doing in the world. I really like the idea that that's not a competitive thing. You're doing something good or you're not. Goodness is not a zero-sum game.
アストレア家に生まれて、弟たちがいて、妹のお前がいて、感謝している。
And it seems like he did find something like that.
俺が守ってやる。俺はお前の兄貴なんだから。
This is something only he can do, right?
お前が戦う必要なんて。
Oh, but okay, now I'm worried for his life. I'm tired of killing my own people.
それどころか 戦場に立つ
I
こ
mean,
と
that's
さえ
perfectly understandable.
そして兄さんは
He didn't make it, did he?
死んだ。
Yeah.
それでも私が剣聖の座から降りることは許されなかった。剣聖の存在は
It's a heavy burden.
カルラ、カジレス、私の兄弟も
Good lord.
剣を持ちなさい。テレシア。
I think she has to pick up the sword, but there has to be something else there as well.
剣を持たなきゃ。
She focused on the flowers.
女が朝っぱらからこんなとこで何してやがんだ。
She found beauty in her own way.
俺の勝ちだ。俺より弱いお前に剣を持つ理由はもうない。
That's not possible. This is just her destiny and her path.
お前が剣を振る理由は
She's heard that one before.
俺が継ぐ。
It sort of changes the reading on that one.
花は好き。
嫌いじゃなくなった。
Yeah, if you like him, I like him too. This is sort of the reason that was missing, right?
いつか気が向いた時にな。
Did he just never tell her? I mean, I guess now would be the time. Is that what she asked for when she came back from the final battle?
それからはずっと幸せで。
What happened to him? What happened to Heinkel?
ヴィルヘルム、私のこと愛してる？
I'll tell you if you come back alive. He couldn't say it all this time. What? Did she just like take him out? Why did it sound like he got stabbed?
私を誰だと思ってるの？あなたの次に強い最強の
This sort of seems like charity.
その答えは
Yeah, that's what it was. Tell me when I come back.
戻ってきたら、あの日聞けなかった言葉を聞かせてくださいね。
You really should just tell her you love her, man. A lot of times in media, what this is like, you didn't say it the last time she went grocery shopping, and then there was a freak accident and you regret not saying it. This isn't that. She's going to fight like the most dangerous creature known to man. This would probably be a good time. It also might be a good time to tell Reindhart not to ask for the divine protection of the Sword Saint, or whatever it was. Reindhart, I'm going out to fight the White Whale. Please hold off on any wishes you may have for the time being. Did she go out to fight it alone? Okay. You all could just stand back and watch. She lost it. She just lost it. Right in the middle of the charge. How did you know it was Reindhart? Oh my god, it's you! Why are you here? Who wasn't involved in Theresia's death? There are so many culprits! I wonder if she's responsible for the necromancy.
出会いがある人生を私のように。あなたを
What just happened?
理解したいのです。
She's a tricky one, Pandora. It wasn't the White Whale at all. The White Whale was sort of there. She just ripped Pandora in half, and yet she's still there. I don't know if this means anything, but it's sort of similar to what's going on with Reindhart right now in real time. No? The decoy. The Sword Saint thing is so interesting for Theresia, and also by extension Reindhart. It's cool that this ends up serving as characterization for him also, but it comes across to me that it's so clear there is no other path for Theresia and Reindhart than the sword. I think that's sort of the symbolic element of the Sword Saint thing, you know? That is so obviously your contribution. It is just such the path of least resistance in terms of actual tangible reward in every possible direction, that like your destiny is just sealed. And it's intriguing because it simultaneously contains both the elements of like a horrible fate, but also something really powerful and beautiful. And I'm not exactly sure how to reconcile those two things. If I had to try to guess at something, the beauty would be in the journey to find out what it means and how it's applied and how to wield it. We've gotten a similar sword metaphor from Willhelm, right? To put your aim, your intent, your full heart behind every swing. The sword is the extension of your action. But like, what is it for? What's the question that you're trying to answer? What's the problem you're trying to address? I'm speculating a little bit, but it almost feels like Theresia never fully made the connection. Like it was kind of a separate thing. She found beauty in her family and in Willhelm. And the sword was just something like she had to do. So there is sort of this feeling of like sadness at the burden, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? And I think maybe that is for Reindhart to figure out. I mean, I think there are very obvious mundane forms of this in everyday life. Sometimes the curtain peels back and you see, oh, this actually is really significant in ways I never fully imagined. And then it's small, but that throwaway line about, I want to understand you. From what little I know about vainglory, there is sort of a type that I can think of where there's something that on the surface looks really generous, where people care about about who you are and what you're doing, but actually it's a very subtle way of getting some sort of credit by posturing over you and trying to force the dynamic of I am the teacher and you are the student, if you know what I mean. And people will also use this and do this as a way of kind of like nerfing you, where maybe they actually see your potential and they see that you can outshine them in ways that are a little bit threatening. So they want to advise you into a safe little box that they've already categorized and written off as being lesser than them or equivalent to them. So like, for example, some people will say, oh, you really should get married and have a family, and really genuinely want the best for you and mean that, thinking that is the best path for you because it will give you an added sense of purpose in life and good to take on extra responsibility because it teaches you about yourself and what the value of life is. But then there's some people who are like really miserable in their marriages and they're jealous and they want to see other people succumb to the same mistakes they feel they made. Pandora comes across as positive and generous, but like it also feels hollow. Everyone is my child. I'm deeply interested in you, you lowly creature. She's conscious.
情けない顔
We really can't save her? I mean, I know I just have to take the mentions of the story as is, but
ヴィルヘルム
do you love me? This is such a crazy family reunion.
言わなくてはならないことが
I mean, she already knows. That's the good thing. That sort of saves you a little bit.
私は口下手で
We know. Though actually, he's great with words of Subaru. At least he gets this chance.
不安にさせたかもしれんだが
This is all just guilt.
私は
I mean, it's so obvious to her, yeah.
あなたの目が
Your actions, your devotion.
私を
愛してる
Thank you, necromancer, whoever you are, whoever did this. Was it Pandora? Oh, did she become flowers?
たくさんの人たちに助けられてあなたと出会ってあなたたちなら大丈夫って
Yeah, it's
信じ
amazing. て You know,
るから
as a sword saint, having this amazing position, it wasn't the sword stuff at all that really defined her life.
実は一目惚れだったんです
Fell in love with you at first sight.
あなたはど
Theresia
のく
van
らい
Astrea.
驚いてくれましたか
Sad. It feels like Wilhelm was just guilty that he couldn't save her from what she was. You can't protect people necessarily from what they are and what they're gonna do. You just can love them. Theresia never needed his protection, right? And she was faking him being a better swordsman than her, right? But anyway, that wasn't his gift to her. I mean, that was sort of self-imposed. That seems to be largely the source of his guilt. Because this is not just sadness about her death. Of course, that's the catalyst for the tragedy and the grief, and that's a big part of the grief. But that's not all it is. There's like that tint of nagging guilt. I thought about this in the context of both death and breakups, where like the end of our relationships, the loss of our relationships in whatever form, of course, are going to be tremendously painful if we cherish them. But I almost feel like, and I say this partly from experience, if that's all it is, if it's just like the sadness that they're gone, as much as it hurts, it's a different kind of pain. It's like a pain where you already maybe have some closure. You really miss the person, but you're filled with beauty. You're filled with love at what you had, and you're so grateful that they came into your life. You miss them and you wish you could spend more time with them, but thinking about them is still a source of joy, and there's a bittersweetness about it where you just still love them, and you have that love, and that's sort of leading the reflections about it. But if you have unresolved issues with yourself, things you regret saying, things you regret doing, things that feel left unfinished, ways in which you let them down and, you know, vicariously yourself down, those are the things that like really eat at you in a toxic way. Wilhelm seems to have felt like he let her down, but I think this is one of those cases where like you don't realize what you're actually providing. You don't see it because it comes so organically, effortlessly to you. And so you think you have to be something in order to be worthy of the people you care about, but it was never about that for them in the first place. It's about who you are. There was no need to impress. There was no need to save them, try to manufacture some way you can point to in which you're benefiting them because you likely already are. I mean, that's sort of why the relationship formed in the first place. Maybe that is somewhere in the vicinity of why it's significant that, you know, I loved you at first sight. You know, like I just love you, Wilhelm. There was nothing you needed to do and no way you could fail me. And what I thought about you turned out to be correct. You are that person. You were that person for me for our whole lives. So you can let go of all the ways in which you feel you were insufficient and all the things you feel you may have done wrong, you know, all the little guilt you may be holding on to. It all just fades away in like the intensity of the light that shone on our relationship. I guess Reindhart took Theresia from Wilhelm again, but I mean, he also gave him this opportunity for this conversation and also freed Theresia. And also if Wilhelm had that closure and isn't still so entangled about his own, I'm calling it guilt, but you know, some kind of unresolved regret, he actually may be able to be grateful to Reindhart. Oh, maybe we get to see the aftermath.
これで満足か
Oh, come on.
これで名実ともに剣聖の座はお前のものだよおめで
He
と
takes no
う
pleasure in this. This is just pure jealousy and self-hatred.
すかした顔してるんじゃねえぞクソガキが
I don't think he's worthy of this sword.
世間に言いふらして誰もお前を剣聖だなんて認めないようにしてやる
I think we're past this. I
何のかんの言ってお前は剣聖って名誉が手放せねえだろ
think we're past the title for that matter, or we should be.
今の敵は秘術によって動かされていただけの屍です。
I mean, she actually was a little bit more, but
最後のあれはなんだ
right.
俺はお前を恨めし
I thought this was going to be a moment of closure. But, oh, maybe it will be. Wilhelm has changed.
あんたそれでいいのかよ。こい
No,
つ
it's
は
not.
やめろ
I'm。not fine with it. It's terrible.
テレシアを切ったことを後悔しているか？
I think it's time to stop putting it this way. I don't think.
いいえ、
Oh, you mean this time?
お前は正しい。私が間違っている。だからお前と話すことはもう何もない。
Okay, this is not the reunion, closure reunion I thought it would be.
あなたの力が必要な場面は他にもありましょう。どうか、剣聖ラインハルト殿。
It sort of seems like Reinhart is kind of still in that Theresia stage I was referring to, of like, it's just my duty. Why would I question it? I mean, like, it would be perfectly reasonable in this situation for Reinhart to have done that, thinking it's the best thing to do. And also just be really sad that that had to happen. Not even that guilt is necessary, but, you know, just some sadness at watching your grandmother die a second time. It does feel like there's something not connecting. And, I mean, I guess Wilhelm has already been through this, right? Like, he sort of knows what this is. There's no point trying to, like, coerce his feelings out of him. My hope, I guess, is twofold. That Reinhart can find whatever that thing is that's missing. I think that would be so interesting for his character. And then also that Wilhelm can support Reinhart in a way that is kind of not demanding, not super expecting, not needing him to be something he isn't, and not feeling personally guilty and like emotionally ensnared in that whole issue, because that's kind of Reinhardt's journey. And I mean also like just logistically he is needed somewhere else right now.
私の心配は不要だ。お前は自分の安全だけ考えていればいい。
Let's just find a bar and stay there.
なんだよ。なんだ。なんだ。くそ。なんなんだよ。
Nobody wants to be around him.
どいつもこいつも死んじまえ。死んじまえ。
It's so insignificant it hurts. I mean, there is a great potential main character journey for Heinkel. He does have a lot of those things that are being explored by the archbishops. False value, deep-seated pride, which actually is insecurity, arrogance, selfishness. There is a large and very compelling mountain to climb there. I actually think that would be something very relatable, because there's always this temptation, right, to try to cling on to easy outs and identities and rationales, including blame, narratives of like unfairness and deserving retribution for some perceived unfairness, as opposed to actually just doing what needs to be done and taking responsibility for one's life without bitterness, without excuses or hatred or blame. Since even if those things are in some degree warranted, they are by no means a solution, and they also have that element of being a very addictive sort of poison, where like it extends sort of beyond the lines of the point at which it actually was a valid claim or critique, and it's just sort of about like fulfilling your sense of emptiness and ego. And while you're dealing with all that, trying to dig yourself out of this hole or not, every time you look over, you see Reinhart shining in all his divine glory, or at least that's what it looks like to you. Reinhart actually maybe starting to look a little bit lost and lonely.